a little bit on a tangent, and if I hear one more idiot like Sam Harris call Twitter a private company, I might lose my mind and get banned off of all these social media platforms. It's so asinine to be making an argument that Twitter is like a bakery on the corner. It's like a lemonade stand. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I said Twitter is a weird amalgamation of the executive branch and administrative state. It is the government. This is the same group that decided to ban a prior president. This is the same group that raided a prior POTUS and upcoming candidate. This is the same people that were behind J6, the Whitmer entrapment, and then we saw convictions today. It's the same group. And who's in that group? So this is the group that doesn't know there's foreign spies working for Twitter. This is the group that you're trying to convince me that Twitter, what I'm getting at is it's all nonsense. It's just something to throw out there to the legislative branch, so the legislative branch cracks down on Twitter. Get Elon out of the way, and you crack down on Twitter and all the other social media companies. They're laying the groundwork for that to happen. In 2019, Don Burton, former director of Washington operations for Lockheed Martin, was poached from her job as senior innovation advisor to the director at the FBI to become senior director strategy and operations for legal, public policy, trust, and safety at Twitter. So now I'm going to go off on a tangent on how many people used to work for the deep state that worked for Twitter. And this is not an exhaustive list. It's just the ones that are named. Karen Walsh went from 21 years at the FBI to become director of corporate resilience at Twitter. And good friend of show, look who came up. Jim Baker, of course. Jim Baker is the FBI agent who, in my opinion, lied and said, everyone knows Michael Sussman is the lawyer for Hillary Clinton and the DNC. He comes to Jim Baker with this information about Alpha Bank. And Jim Baker, the former FBI, was with Twitter. I think he left, but went from FBI to Twitter, is trying to tell you and me that he didn't know that Michael Sussman was working for the DNC and Hillary Clinton when he gave him that information. So now we're tying in the FBI, and then you tie in Hillary Clinton's ties to the FBI. Sussman was like in deep with Twitter. Remember that we talked about he was working with Jim Baker, and he's like, oh, you need an org chart in Twitter? Michael Sussman, the lawyer for Hillary Clinton and the DNC, was like, oh, Jim, I know you're going to Twitter. And he's just kind of like name dropping and showing off how much he knew about the inside workings of Twitter. And it's like, oh, you need an org chart? Who has an inside org chart of Twitter? The DNC lawyer does. This is you don't think they know if a spy is working at Twitter? Get the hell out of here. These are the receipts that they're showing. They're going through like LinkedIn. Mark Jaworski ended his 21-year posting. They put some time too in the Bureau and the CIA as a supervisory special agent in the Bay Area to take up a position at Twitter, rising to become director of corporate security and risk. Douglas Turner spent 14 years as a senior special agent and SWAT team leader before being recruited to serve at Twitter's corporate and executive security services. What barbershop has former 21-year veterans of the FBI joining them to cut hair? It's just another department. It's like the department we're retiring, so we're going to go to Twitter. I expect they have a job for us. Turner also spent 7 years as a Secret Service agent with the Department of Homeland Security. Many former FBI officials hold influential roles within Twitter. For instance, in 2020, Matthew W., they don't know the full and last name because for whatever, just to be secure, they don't put that on LinkedIn, left a 15-year career as an intelligence program manager at the FBI to take up the post of senior director of product trust at Twitter. Patrick G., a 23-year FBI. They're not just getting randos. These are like 23, 15, 14 years. Supervisory special agent, now head of corporate security. And Twitter's director of inside risk and security investigations, Bruce A., was headhunted from his role of supervisory special agent at the Bureau. There's 3 of them so far. His resume notes that at the FBI, he held various intelligence and law enforcement roles in the U.S., Africa, Europe, and the Middle East, and was a human intelligence and counterintelligence regional specialist. Meanwhile, between 2007 and 2021, Jeff Carlton built up a distinguished career in the United States Marine Corps, rising to become a senior intelligence analyst. He worked both for the CIA and the FBI. What? This is just, it's like a retirement home for the FBI and CIA agents. They're career guys, like embedded with the deep state. How many of these people do you think are MAGA? This is Twitter. These are the leaders at Twitter for security and all these. So with all these people riddled throughout them, I'm not done yet. All these people riddled throughout them. You want me to believe that the security issues that you might have seen were just some accident? I'm a whistleblower. Look, I found some security issues. There's FBI and CIA people all throughout there. They could come and dox me like this right now if they happen to come on the video, or do worse. And they don't know that a random engineer could get into the algorithm. That's by design. They don't know that a foreign spy is working for them at Twitter. That's what I'm supposed to believe. This is almost as dumb as the Jim Baker's take with Michael Sussman that he said under oath. This might be more stupid than that. It makes no sense. Carlton described his role. I'm not done with Jeff Carlton. He authored dozens of official reports, some of which were read by President Barack Obama, who we know is savage. He does not play. Carlton describes his role as a problem solver and claims to have worked in many dynamic, high-pressure environments such as Iraq and Korea. In May, he left official service to become a senior program manager at Twitter, responsible for dealing with the company's highest profile trust and safety escalations. You're trying to tell me that Jeff Carlton didn't know what was going on? Do you think I'm stupid? Other former FBI, and it's not just him, other former FBI staff, Sherelle Y. as policy domain specialist, Laura D. as senior analyst at Global Risk Intelligence. That's not a private company. It's a op. It's a psyop. I mean, it's obvious. It's a psyop, and you hire some of these indoctrinated woke young people, pay them $100K, they work 3 days a week, and it's a wrap. That's what it is. That's all it is. There's more. I'm going to have to stop at that point. I mean, I think we get it. There's more in this article, and that's obviously not an exhaustive list. And it's not just Twitter. Oh, there's one about NATO. Let me show you the NATO one. So the FBI is far from the only state security agency filling Twitter's ranks. Shortly after leaving a 10-year career as a CIA analyst, Michael Scott Robinson was hired to become senior policy manager for site integrity, trust, and safety. The California-based app has also recruited heavily from the Atlantic Council, a NATO cutout organization that serves as the military alliance's think tank. The council is sponsored by NATO, led by senior NATO generals, and regularly plays out regime change scenarios in enemy states such as China. The Atlantic Council. So they're just picking them all off. They fit right within the global agenda.